All right, hi, and welcome to the Elbow Nudge Podcast,
Thank you for
episode
joining us.
one.
Episode 1.
I'm Tony, and I'm here with my good friend Caroline.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you for joining us. We will be talking Dune today.
Yeah, it came out about a week ago, and we were both able to see it on our own time in two very different experiences, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it on HBO Max, day one, at home. And Tone, you went all the way to the theater,
I
right?
went all the way to the theater. I saw it in IMAX just a couple days ago on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
And, and
That leaves no context for this episode. I saw it just a few days ago. Doesn't really matter when it came out.
just a few days ago. I
Yeah.
saw it day one. Uh, I'm a little jealous of your experience because you got to see it, I think, the way it was intended to be seen.
I
IMAX.
will tell you more about that when we get into that.
Yeah, but to start off, how did you hear about Dune? What got you interested in the story? Was it just the talk, the hype? What's going on?
Yeah, so leading up to Dune, I'm gonna go a little bit further back than you might think. So when HBO announced that they were gonna do day one releases for the rest of 2021, we're in
Mhm.
2021, right? Yeah. When they announced that, this is the movie that people were really excited about. I know that, and they were concerned about because the whole thing going into Dune was it needs to perform really well in the box office for it to get a sequel, which is understandable but strange that they will already put that pressure. They
Mhm.
kind of did feel like, hey guys, you want more of this? Come on, you got to come out and see it. You got to support it.
If you want it, come and get it.
Yeah. S- I know the song I wasn't going to go na 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 na, but I guess I did.
You did it in
But
your head.
but we know how it did perform. We'll get into that. But yeah, before going in, I know it's based off a book. I know I haven't read this book, even though I borrowed it from the library. I thought I was gonna read it, and then I just let it go until it was time to return it. I rented like this huge large print edition, so it was a very thick Dune book.
Ooh.
I don't know I don't know why I wanted to read it at the time. I guess I heard it was good. But yeah, I never read it. I missed that chance. I guess I still could read it now, but anyway, I know there was gonna be a lot of good actors when they were being announced. A lot of people were getting excited,
Oh yeah. All-star cast.
and yeah, the director, like everything was set up for this to be a fantastic movie. The only problem was how good is it gonna do with it being on HBO Max as well, and also is this just getting overhyped online with moviegoers who know about the director and cast, or is this a movie that a general audience is gonna like?
Not to
And
mention, Dune had the same reputation as Lord of the Rings in that it's a story of such magnitude, it's almost unadaptable. So that was another big giant that they had to tackle.
oh, I kind of felt some of that actually, but Lord of the Rings is another book series that I haven't read, but I think they did a fantastic job. A lot of people did, but this, I don't know. Before we get into it, let's hear what you got to say. What did you think going in before seeing this movie?
Well, first, I'll do you one better,
Was
and
that
mine goes way back,
further back? What
further
year is
back
it?
to the year of the polarizing movie,
Oh,
Star Wars
Last Jedi.
Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
I was
It
joking. You're serious?
Yes. So,
Okay.
it is the week after, I should say, of The Last Jedi. And I have very chaotic emotions about that film. And my uncle had seen it a week after, and he could he watched. He's not like a diehard Star Wars fan. He's a Trekkie. He loves Star Trek. So for him, this was just another movie he wasn't really impassioned as I was. But he knew after watching it, like, oh, Caroline might be a she might be a mess right now. So he and my aunt came over for dinner the week after, and we were just talking, and he was like, "So, Star Wars: The Last Jedi," and I was able to like vent to him and everything. And it was at that moment after I got it all off my chest that he said, "Well, if you want a sci-fi story recommendation to kind of quench your sci-fi thirst, you should read this book called Dune." And this was before that I even knew uh, a movie was in the works or anything like that. He just told
Yeah, I
me,
don't think it's been announced yet.
yeah, he just told me, "Hey, you should check out Dune." So I did. I rented it from the library and I read chapters 1 through 3. I barely got any reading done. I don't know if it was just the time of like school and the holidays, but yeah, that loan ran out and went back to the library until very recently, like cut from then to now, maybe about a month and a half ago. I rented it again and I got up to I read the book up until um a part in the film. So the
Okay.
film goes beyond my book knowledge. I read up until about maybe 2/3 of where the movie is. And then after that, I was like, oh, okay, this is all new for me when I saw the film. But I did read that part. And then my loan ran out. And then when I went to go back to like renew the loan, I guess that was when the hype just kind of like,
And people
oh,
in front of you have checked it out, or
it
they're in line to check it out.
there was like, because on I rented it through Libby, and that's like an ebook app for our listeners to know.
Mhm.
And
Love Libby.
Libby typically gives you an estimate, and I've had long estimates before. I think over the summer I rented a book that had a waiting list of like 8 weeks, but for Dune, it was like, we don't know when this book will be back.
You
There are
couldn't be
like
waiting forever.
I think the line was like 45 people ahead of me, and I
Oh
was
my
like, oh.
gosh.
So yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for Dune. And but yeah, so that was kind of my, and then so reading the book, I re-rented it again because that like renewed, I think the trailer had come out or something like that, like just like the initial trailer for Dune came out, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to go back and like read chapter 4 at least. So that was when I like re-rented it. I started reading it again. I was enjoying it. I really do like the book and the way that it's written and how much I feel like when you read it slowly, cuz typically I've been known to binge read. I could get through uh a whole novel in a whole like a day. So I can binge read, but with Dune there's a lot of lore and info and background, and the book is able to take you through all that and explain and tell you what a lot of things mean. And so it was a good background to note. It was a long read. Just getting up to where I was, it took me a while, but I'm glad I did it because it did give me a lot of help understanding the premise and what was going on. And I was kind of the Dune guide for my family when we saw the
Mm.
movie, where they were like, "Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that?" But yeah, so that was like just coming into Dune wasn't even like a hype angle for me because that was like the big deal. I think a couple of film reviewers that I watch on YouTube and stuff like that was something that they started promoting after The Rise of Skywalker, where they were like, "Oh, The Rise of Skywalker sucked, but at least we still have hope. Dune's coming out next year," or something like that.
There's hope. We can
There's
attach
hope.
ourselves to another franchise.
We can attach ourselves to another sci-fi classic,
This one
ho-
won't let us down.
hopefully. So that was where I was kind of like, "Oh, that's right, they're making a Dune book and stuff like that." And so my knowledge of Dune has extended pretty far out, and I was always going to see it. I think even when they announced their lineup, HBO Max did for their 2021 releases,
Mhm.
I told my mom, "Oh, number 1 on my list is Dune. I got to see Dune. I want to see that movie so bad." And so it's always been on my radar. I had it bookmarked on my calendar and everything.
So that's what we thought going in.
Mhm.
Caroline, if you would do the honors, do you want to describe what this movie is about for 90% of the audience that hasn't read the book, so we could finally know what this movie's about?
So there is a substance in Dune known as spice, and spice can be, for those who are coming over from maybe like a Star Wars angle, it's not the Force, but it is a type of substance that comes from life energy, and it's on the planet Arrakis. And well, it's not just on the planet Arrakis. A lot of planets I think have spice abundance, but Arrakis has the most. And
For
spice
those of you coming from the MCU angle, it's vibranium in Wakanda.
yeah, that's a really good analogy to it. But
Or
well,
another one, it's unobtainium in Pandora
cuz not even
for all the Avatar fans.
I feel like vibranium is such a rare material leading up to the MCU. This is more like cuz spice without
Abundant.
yeah, without spice, interplanetary travel is impossible. They use spice for everything. This is their fuel source. This is their it can be a currency, like they exchange things for spice.
It could be
Spice
like an hallucinogen or whatever, or like medicine or something.
yeah,
What did they
yeah.
mention?
It can be it can take many resources. It can take many uses. And so spice is a pretty big deal. And now looking at it from a political angle, there is an empire, there's an empirical system in place in Dune. There's an emperor, and there is a system called the 10 houses, like the 10 noble houses. And we focus in on House Atreides, which is led by Leto Atreides, and they are on I
Oscar
can't remember
Isaac.
yeah, who is played by Oscar Isaac, and they are currently settled on like an ocean planet. I can't remember the name of it, but it is like a more water.
It's Caladan?
Caladan. Yes, I
Uh,
like that name too. And I couldn't remember it off the top of my head, but they are situated on Caladan. And now typically what will happen is the emperor will um kind of like everybody sends resources to the emperor. And so the problem is though, like as the background of this is that Leto Atreides is gaining a lot of power and a lot of popularity. And and the emperor starts getting a little paranoid and is like, "Hey, you know what? Leto is rising in the popularity poll. I don't want him to beat me in the electoral college poll. So I need to get him out of here." And so he sends a order for Leto Atreides to now go take possession of the planet Arrakis. And Arrakis is known to be one of the most dangerous, volatile, but spice-filled planets in the whole system. And it's got its pros and cons because if Leto is able to uh, tame this world and make it his own, and make a running system from it, then he succeeds, and it will be a huge win for the empire and for himself. It's a huge personal victory. However, those chances are very slim, and Leto is not looking too good, and he's kind of worried about taking care of this planet because this planet is filled with so many dangers. Just harvesting spice is like the tip of the iceberg. On the other side of things, in his personal life, Mr. Leto Atreides, he has a partner named Jessica, and Jessica is
Lady
part of this.
Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica. She is part of this order called the Bene Gesserit, and they are, if you're coming from the Star Wars angle, it's kind of like women Jedi, but not really. They devote themselves to this like order, and they have what's called the Voice, and that's seen in the film.
Mhm.
Also, we should give a warning before I keep going. We are not a spoiler-friendly podcast. We are going to talk
Yeah, we
some.
got it a little bit too deep, but whenever we're gonna talk about a movie, it's complete spoilers. So yeah,
So,
you're right. We should have said that up front.
I was giving the premise too, so it's not like as if I gave too much. I was kind of giving the setup, but yeah.
There was
Uh,
only one thing that we don't really find out until later, and that's the intent of the emperor and what he's trying to do.
you're right. You're
Or
right. But yeah,
But it's all
so
good.
just we're saying it now. This is not a spoiler friendly podcast. We are going to give spoilers
Every time.
every time.
Every time.
So there is this thing. I don't know how it's not like a said thing, but like Jessica, she's part of the Bene Gesserit, this order. They devote themselves to the study of like the voice and even to like what is sacred. And it's kind of this kind unsaid. I didn't really get too far into it, but like the order is very shrouded in mystery. And she was told to bear only daughters. That's kind of the thing, is that they're all women.
Hmm.
And so, however, when she met Leto Atreides, she fell in love, and he wanted a son. He wanted a boy. And so she, like I said, it's typically discouraged, and it's actively discouraged, I think, for Bene Gesserits to have sons, and it's highly encouraged for them to have women because something about men using the voice, I can't remember, but yeah, and in her love for Leto, she had a son who is our main character, Paul. And Paul Atreides is kind of like the best of both worlds. He's got this root into the order through his mom, but he also has a powerful political stance, being the son of Duke Atreides thanks to his dad. So he really does come from a powerful political and sacred background, leading up to now. The movie kind of starts off with Paul having dreams, seeing visions. uh we get some glimpses into how the voice, I'm using air quotes for that, is used.
Hmm.
And we're able to see he takes like a test, and which he does pass, and it turns out he is what is known as the one. Or what's funny is that I think I saw that the day after you and I saw The Matrix again. We had a rewatch, and so I was like, he's Neo, he's the one.
I believe. Were you like Morpheus in the theater?
Oh yeah,
I
I
believe.
I was full Morpheus for Paul Atreides. And yeah, so as Paul is getting these dreams, it only gets worse when he gets to Arrakis with the abundance of spice. Spice kind of enhances his abilities with the voice and his what's it called? Like his power and everything, and like the dreams. And then also, on this planet Arrakis is a native people called the Fremens. And they are people who are so connected to the spice and to the world. That's where you see like they have those characteristic bright blue eyes. That's because of the spice.
Hmm.
And they are a people who are very connected to the planet. And Leto Atreides does a good job of extending an olive branch to them and telling them, like, I'll respect you if you respect me, kind of thing. And they're like, okay, pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, so the movie gives a lot of info dumping in the beginning. Really wants you to get to know the core family, which is Paul, Leto, and Jessica, and their motivations and their emotions before we get to the final, like, I guess, like the big conflict of the film, which is that the whole reason the emperor sent the House Atreides there to begin with was because he was like, hey, we got to wipe them out. But then the order works closely with the emperor. They tell like they tell the guy who's going to go, and he's kind of like the emperor's sword at the moment because he's going to be the one to go and wipe out, or attempt to wipe out, House Atreides. And the order tells him, like, hey, you know what, you can't harm Jessica because she's one of us, and so because you can't harm her, you also can't harm her son. And so the guy, I can't remember his name, but
Which one?
the guy that is gonna go and wipe out House Atreides. He sits in that oil tub.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, it's
He's
like
one of the Harkonnen guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The big
A big dude.
For all the Star Wars fans out there, he's like
He's
how
a
do you
big
say,
guy.
Jabba the Hutt? Not really. He's more like a weird worm-looking thing chilling in
Yeah,
a hot tub. I didn't really get an essence of what he was. Like a really tall guy or like half
he's a big
worm
guy.
man?
He's a big guy. Yeah, I don't know.
He's a
I don't
big
know.
guy. He's kind of slimy and
Literally and physically.
yeah,
What's his name?
slimy guy.
The guy, the guy who plays Drax is like his lieutenant.
Oh, I don't know his name
What's his
in the movie,
name? Yeah, no. What's his
but
actor
Dave
name?
Bautista.
That's the one. I knew his name was Dave, but I was like Bautista. But yeah, Dave Bautista is in this movie too, and the guy who played the Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, when I saw him, I thought, good for you.
Good for you.
Good
Good
for
for
you.
you.
His
But
name
yeah,
I don't remember, so
I
sorry.
don't either. I do remember I saw a tweet of his where they were like, "Oh, this guy just keeps winning," and it's a picture of him in Dune and him as the Polka Dot Man, and he retweeted it and he was like, "Yes, I'm so happy to be able to live out my nerd dreams." So good for him.
I liked him as the polka dot man.
Yeah, he fit it. He fit the
Yeah.
role. But back to Dune. So there is a lot of rising conflict. I will also preface the movie has a lot of still moments, a lot of quiet moments, or in the sense of like there's a lot of slow mo, there's a lot of moments of pondering, and a lot of
Very
it is
Ghibli-esque.
yeah. Good. We're already doing a
Oh,
callback to
oh
episode
wait, yeah,
0.
I'm referencing nothing. Sorry, guys. If you wanna,
If you
if you
want to
wanna
know what
know a little
Tony's
bit more,
referencing, you have to hear episode 0.
nah, I don't want to leave him hanging like that.
You can explain it?
I mean, do they do it for all the movies or just?
Oh yeah, it's a Ghibli thing.
All right, so I guess I haven't seen their movies either, but I guess Studio Ghibli they take some time to just give them, as you would say, moments to breathe in the movie. So I was just making that reference for Dune. I guess there was some take a moment to breathe scenes in Dune.
Yeah, and I think the movie does a good job of that because there is so much and already they're not giving you all of the info in the movie. They are giving you a lot of necessary info. And I'm surprised to see a lot of book references in this film. It really gave me that assurance that like, oh yeah, we are adapting this book. And it helped out a lot too. There was even like I really thought they weren't gonna reference. There was a lot of shots of the bull, the bullfighter, where he's talking to his dad, like where Paul is talking to Leto. It'll cut to the matador or like the figure of the bullfighter, and flash forward to when spoiler incoming. This is a big one when Leto Atreides is captured. It cuts from him unconscious to like him to a bull's head hanging on the wall. That's a
Mm.
deep book reference of like talking about the how Leto's father was killed by a bull, and how his father was a bullfighter and his father was killed by a bull, and then Leto killed the bull and mounted the bull's head on the wall. And so now cutting from the bull's head to Leto right before Leto's passing is kind of a mirror of his own father, because Leto was trying to tame the world of Arrakis and Arrakis got away from him. And then and not only that, but like also the bull could be the emperor, because the emperor is this huge dangerous animal that gives the matador its importance. And like there's just a huge
Layers of
layers and layers,
meaning,
ogre
and
onion layers of meaning, and
yeah.
they could have easily just not
Every time I
put
say layers, you think Shrek.
that's my secret cap. I always think Shrek.
It's like layers is ruined for you.
You'll be surprised how much is ruined for me because of Shrek. But yeah,
Smash Mouth. No,
somebody
that's
once
actually
told me
enhanced for you.
that.
But anyways, go on.
So, yeah, that could have been something that they easily didn't include in the movie, but they did. They did because they care about the source material and the book and what the background of these characters are. And that's what I noticed too. There's a lot of care in this film. I don't want to give my full review of it right away, but that is something that I was very touched by. To go back onto the synopsis, since I kind of segued out of it, uh, the movie does have a pivotal scene where the Harkonnen invade Arrakis and they wipe out House Atreides. They take Leto captive, and Jessica and Paul, fortunately, are able to get away and escape into the desert. Um, However, a lot of people consider them dead because the desert is considered uninhabitable. You're going to be
No
killed either
man's
way.
land. Yeah, they should
Yeah,
have died.
yeah,
Yeah,
because you're either going to die because of the the conditions, the weather conditions, or the big one is the sandworms. The sandworms are able to hear rhythms in the sand, and Paul even mentions that where he's like, "Oh, we have to do the sand walk because it will."
that
I
was
think,
funny.
yeah, that was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool, but like
No,
the
it is cool, but it's also funny because I was just imagining they have to walk like that the entire way
oh
until they
yeah,
get out of Worm Zone.
I would do a song. Like I would do that those steps and then make up a song for it. I could do it. Do a
You
little do a
so
little
on
sand
top of
walk.
this strange walk, you would create a song for it as well.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Okay,
Don't ask me to come up with a song right now, but I would.
all right, think
If
about it.
I'll think about one. But my brain is currently on another song right now, so I don't know if I could sing that one.
Oh yeah, yeah, we can't mention what that one is. Yeah,
But yeah, so it's kind of sad because Leto Atreides was my favorite character. Reading the book, I really like him. I love the way he talks to Paul and the way he cares for Paul. The movie was exactly the way I pictured it in my head, where he was like, well, you'll see when it calls to you. He's like, well, what if it doesn't call to me? And he goes, well, then you could just be what you need to be. Like, you could just be my son. And I was like, "Ugh."
yeah, that was good.
That pulled at my heartstrings so much. And that was how I saw it in my head. Oscar Isaac always understands the assignment. He always pulls it off with such great ways. And I read up until the what's it called? I read to the part where Paul got when he was trying to save the dust harvester and he got knocked out and he started hallucinating and then they had to drag him up into the ship and everything.
Okay, yeah.
That was where I read. So everything after that was new to me.
And how far did you say you were in the book, or how far did you think you were?
I feel like if any actual Dune readers are listening, they're like, "Oh, this girl knows nothing."
Chapter 1.
No, no. I can't remember.
Okay, but
My
you
my
felt like you
Kindle.
were,
No, I felt like I was pretty far in, but Dune is a hefty book.
and it's
My
not
kin
just one book.
It's not. My Kindle is not an accurate account for how far I was in there. But yeah. And then also, this is Dune part 1, so really, I think
Yeah.
I was like a fourth of the way through that book. I have more to read.
It's strange that it was never marketed as part 1. We just knew from other news outlets that this was
Dune.
yeah, well, uh, people who look into movie news, they knew that this was a part 1. But it's weird that it never showed up anywhere as part 1. And I'm pretty sure that's clever marketing because I don't think anybody would want to.
It's hands down clever marketing. I think there was an interview with I'm gonna butcher his last name. Was it
There's a lot of
Villa?
cases where people know there's a scene. Yeah. Let's hear it. Oh, Villeneuve? I butcher his first name.
Was it Danny? Denise?
I think it's Denny,
Denny?
but even though it's spelled Dennis, right? Dennis
Yeah,
Villeneuve?
for a while I called him Dennis, but I think it is like Denny.
Denny. Yeah.
Denny. Um, there was an interview that he did where he confirmed like, "Oh yeah, this film covers the first half of the book." But he was always calling it Dune, and people were just kind of like, "Oh, okay, well maybe it is a smart thing that he only covered the first half because I told you there was a reputation of Dune being the unadaptable story because of so much content." But to actually see, that they kind of pulled a Star Wars on us just to make that early comparison already because Star Wars was marketed as Star Wars until I believe it was later on that it was like episode 4, A New Hope.
What?
Yeah. I could be wrong. I think it was just Star Wars upon theatrical release, but or no, it
Oh,
wasn't
it definitely was, yes. It was just Star Wars.
I think it was just in that and like A New Hope or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people were just like, "Oh, this is Star Wars." It's a little bit different with Dune because they're actually adapting a book and Star Wars was a completely original thing. But it was nice to see Dune Part 1 on the opening credits because that was like, "Ooh, ooh."
I was like, "Well, well, well, you finally admit it, huh?"
Also, it helps kinda down the line too where, just picture it like 5 years later, Dune Part 1 and Part 2 are out. If you weren't around for when the Dune hype was, and you're like, "You know what? I'm finally gonna sit down and watch Dune." You just see it as like Dune Part 1. So it doesn't date the film by like, "Oh, this is Dune.
Nah,
This is
yeah,
Dune
yeah.
Part 2."
Yeah, and you don't normally call oh, wait, or do you? I'm thinking Kill Bill Volume 1. But yeah, usually you don't call your first movie 1 or Part 1.
Yeah, Iron Man. We call it
1.
in passing, like, "Oh yeah, Iron
Yeah.
Man 1," but it's
When
Iron
it
Man.
when it came out, after the movie ended, they show, like, the end title card, and it said "It, Part 1." Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was cool.
they did it afterward.
Yes.
Dune comes right out of
But
the woodwork. They're like, "Yeah, Dune Part 1."
alright, I think that was a very comprehensive breakdown of the movie, and
I hope so.
if I had because I saw it in theaters, I saw it in IMAX, and then I came home, I saw it again, but not all the way through. I had to take a nap. Um, I saw maybe like another 50 minutes, the first 50 minutes, so like not even halfway. And honestly, it wasn't until my second rewatch, watching it at home, when I started appreciating it more and I started seeing like, okay, now I can see why people are saying like it could be Lord of the Rings, it could be Game of Thrones, it could be like this or that, whatever comparisons they made. Now I could kind of see it because there's a lot going on here.
Oh, yeah.
But what I do want to say first is that I think, and maybe you could confirm some of this, but I do think it would have benefited from being a show instead because I feel like as much as they covered here, and as like sometimes it does feel like a slower pace, not in a bad way, but I feel like it still didn't really have time to explain things that I would have liked to have seen, and I don't know if it gets explained in the book or not. So, kind of like the things that you were mentioning, like 10 houses, I didn't know how many there were. I don't even really know what a house represents or does. I know that the House of Atreides, that plot line is that I guess they're growing in power or reputation or favor, but I don't know why. What are they doing? Like, how are we seeing them so prosperous? Like, what do they do? I would like to know more of that. Like, we just jump in when we're being told that they're. I like the way that Jabba the Hutt guy said it. I wish I could remember the exact quote, but he was like the House of Atreides is singing or like singing higher, something weird like that. It was like a little poetic, but it's basically meaning like, yeah, they're kind of gaining power and getting stronger, but I don't know why. Does the book cover that? Like, I would like to see their just a little bit more of what they do and their operations on Caladan.
A lot of it has to do with their the way that l- the planet is handled. It talks more of Leto's leadership skills and how he's able to run um certain things and handle certain things, and how he is kind of the go-to for any help, or he can be really dependable. I think there's even something about how like other houses will go to him for assistance and guidance. So that was like a big thing why like the emperor was so scared of him, was because he wasn't just doing a good job, but he was gaining favor among other nobles. So should he want to, he might be able to pick up and leave. Like he is becoming independent enough that he might not need the emperor anymore because he could
Mm.
do a lot of these things himself. And House Atreides has so many resources and members and military and tools that that was looking more and more possible. And I think Paul says something about it in the film, but how, you know, he wants to lead like an insurrection and gather the 10 houses. He wants to like create an alliance. That was something that the emperor was always fearing because a lot of the house leaders revered Leto. So that's kind of like the big factor into
Okay.
uh why House Atreides uh has been growing and why they are becoming such a target. But in that vein of being a show, I feel like hmm I feel like it could work because there is so much, but I also feel like maybe that could be a downfall of it because the movie did such a good job in consolidating your need to know information into a film. I feel like a movie might drag that out, and to a viewer, an everyday viewer who might not want to know the inner workings and politics of Dune, they might not even get past the first episode if they go into that much um it's kind of like, oh, if you thought Dune was good and you want to know more, you should read the book. I think the movie handled it pretty well that way, where it gave you all the necessary info, but hey, if you're still curious, you should read the book.
Yeah, that's true. A TV show, I think it needs to stand out a little bit more for it to be popular, like to gain huge popularity. But a movie, for whatever reason, I think it reaches more eyes easier. It gets popular easier. But I am that general audience though. On my first viewing, I came out thinking it was all right. I really did. I was like, it was all right, and I was bombarded with information, and I had no idea. Like, I couldn't follow it until I started doing the rewatch, and I started taking notes, and I started writing down the planets and things like that because I had no
Oh.
idea when it was happening. Like, there's a lot of names being thrown at you. Like, imagine, and again, oh, for context as well. Remember, I didn't read the book either, so I don't have that prior knowledge. So I'm watching this movie like cold with no prior information. So I'm hearing like Arrakis, Atreides, Caladan, Fremen, and I can't even keep track of, is this a race of people? Is this a planet? Is this or that? Whatever. Um, and then every time it cut to a new scene, I had to readjust. Like, wait, what's going on now? Where are they going? Like what's happening? A good example is um there is a scene right before Paul gets tested, right? He puts his hand in that
in
book,
the box.
in the box, book-looking box, and he gets, the box of pain, and the this group of what's their names again? The
The
Bene
Bene
Get,
Gesserit.
yeah. I was calling them like the garbage witches. They were wearing like garbage bags. It looked like garbage bags when they came out of the ship. Do you
My
remember that?
my mom called them fishnet stockings.
Oh no, I'm talking like before that, before they revealed themselves. It looks like they were wearing garbage bags, like when they were coming out of their ship.
Yeah.
Rewatch that scene again. But yeah, and then they have the fishnet stockings on their face. Uh, but anyways, for that scene, I had to like, I had to think. Wait, first of all, what are they doing here? Where are they? The whole scene is a fog. Like they're in the middle of a void, and I was trying to figure out what are they doing here? Where are they actually? But on the rewatch, I saw that all right, Paul has just woken up from a dream, so they're at their house,
Mhm.
and that's another thing too. I don't really. This is a weird one, but I feel like I needed an establishing shot of their house to know that we were there. Because all we ever see of it is that kitchen when the movie first starts, and
Mhm.
and his
Paul's
mom.
room.
Yeah, and then Paul's room, him sleeping on the bed, and that's really all you kind of know of his house, of that house.
Yeah, there
So
is no establishing shots showing us what the whole place looks like. We kind of just get cliffs and the inside of it, but not the outside.
yeah, that's why I didn't know where they were at. So he wakes up from a dream, and that's your context for where they're at. They're at their home, and then um what's her name again? The Bene
Ben Bene
Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit.
Those guys, they come in, they land their spaceship, they walk out, and that whole scene is yeah, nothing. Like I said, they're walking and talking in a void, and basically, just it takes me so much time. That's a perfect example of who are they, where are they, what are they doing, and this is just one example of my point of view of somebody who hasn't read the book. Of like, there's so many questions, and I feel like some of it should have been expanded on. Like, all right, he puts his hand in this book. What's
Box
happening?
book.
It's not a book. It's a box book.
Box book.
What's happening? Why does it hurt? I know what they explained. She's testing him. She's what's the word she used? I know she's like filtering out people, just like you filter out. Filter is not the
Yeah.
word. She used something sifting, I think.
Sifting like
Yeah,
sand.
but I didn't get anything from that. I think she was able to like see some of his dreams, or I think he was like tapping into some sort of um premonition part of his mind.
Well, part
Or
of it was a test to see if he would misuse the voice in the middle of pain. So
and
if
tell her to stop.
yeah, so it's more of like a when you're pushed to the edge, will you do whatever it takes for survival,
Yeah,
or
will you gnaw off your leg
will you not?
or your
Or
arm in this case?
in this case, it's more of like because the Bene Gesserit are so devoted to the voice and the order that if they would have seen him misuse that power, they would have had to kill him. So by making him experience that like pain by putting his hand in the book box, she was trying to gauge his level of self-control and the level of training that he had received from his mom. So that's why like she was like, okay, he passed because he was able to in the middle of feeling like immense pain, he was still able to because you see him kind of freak out, but then at the end he's able to look her in the eye and like his posture gets a little more upright because he's not going to use power or anything. He's going to be able to keep a level head through that pain, through that trial. And so she's like, okay, he has a good head on his shoulders.
Mm.
But like his mom on the outside is freaking out because um what he did, what he was able to accomplish was a major feat. It was a pretty big deal.
Was she able to feel his pain?
I think so, yeah. I think she was able to like also you could tell that she is audibly like listening to his pain and everything outside. So I think she was able to feel kind of a semblance for what he's feeling.
Now, since we're talking about it too, I do want to mention in IMAX, the voice did sound really cool. It had
I
like
know.
a
I'm
deep
so
vibration.
so jealous of you for being
Y-
able to hear that part because I heard it just from a regular old Samsung TV, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa!"
Yeah, it's not the same. I had my headphones on, I was watching it at home
Mm-hmm.
again, and it wasn't the same. It had like a different, more powerful feeling behind it. But I also wanted to mention, because you brought it up earlier in your synopsis, that, like, why do they specifically try to only have girls and women? And I was thinking, does it say anywhere in the book that the voice has to be feminine? Because when he does the voice, when Paul does the voice, and more specifically, you can hear it better when they're on that dragonfly plane. Uh, she tells him that he has to fix his pitch. Like he does it wrong at first. You have to fix your pitch, and then when he does it again, it sounds more feminine to me, or like, like a woman's voice. I'm like, oh, is that it? Is that one of the reasons? Am I just hearing things, or is this addressed in the book?
So to answer the question of why it has to be like all women, is there is a grander scheme. The ultimate goal of the Bene Gesserit is to create the equivalent. They call him, oh, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's like Kwisatz Haderach, which is
What?
it's their equivalent of like the Messiah.
Oh
And
yeah, that's I think I wrote that down too.
yeah. That's what they're trying to do. And so the way that
Oh, their
they
version? Never mind, never mind.
it's their version
It's a
of like
different
the
one.
Messiah, but the way that they see to do that is to create
It's
it
not
has
the Lisan Al Gaib, or is that a different one?
that's the Fremen. That's the
Okay,
Fremen
yeah. That's what I
version.
thought when you said their specific one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the Fremen word for that. But the
You see how
Kwisatz
this is confusing, right? To somebody who hasn't read the book, throwing all these words at you.
So their way of doing it is to have women implanted in noble society because they believe that the Kwisatz Haderach will come from the way I described Paul was in the synopsis. He's the best of both worlds. He is the son of like noble blood, ultimate noble blood, and years of breeding enough powerful women with the gift of the Bene Gesserit. So their idea is that once they have enough women, or once they have a woman powerful enough, get her to with a guy that's powerful enough on the noble side, they'll have the male Bene Gesserit, which is the Kwisatz Haderach. So that's kind of their reasoning for why it's all women. They want to have a woman Bene Gesserit combined with a male nobleman. You get what I mean, Jellybean?
Yeah, so this Paul is that, but I guess the Reverend Mother didn't think
The
he
the
was ready.
Reverend Mother didn't think that this was all part of the plan for like the ultimate goal is to have their Kwisatz Haderach, but she just thought
That
that
sounded like you edited that in after the fact. Who is Hydric?
Kwisatz Haderach.
You want you want to look up how to say it? We say it right now. Just edit all the past times we had to say it
Oh,
with that audio clip.
I would love that, but I don't want to give you too much work
Oh, you could do this episode.
immediately.
No,
I'm gonna be the one. Here we go. How do I
no, it's not.
pronounce this,
No, no,
Google?
no, no. We're going all the way through.
Kwisatz Haderach.
Oh, we do have to go back and edit it then.
Kwisatz Haderach. Or we could just We've asserted that we did not know, and now that we do.
Yeah, like we said in episode 0, we're not experts on these things.
I could feel the shoulder shrug.
I
That
mean,
we're not experts.
anyways, yeah, go on.
Kwisatz Haderach. Um,
So you see how
so
this is confusing, right?
yeah, I
For the
do.
for the layman,
For
such
the
as myself.
layman, the
Yeah,
everyman.
yeah.
So the Reverend Mother, like of the Bene Gesserit, she thinks that Jessica just had a kid that was a boy. Because also, I think there's kind of an assumption that you can control what you give birth to. That these women have the ability to control their womb and the chromosomes and
Oh
everything.
yeah, that's what I forgot to ask. I was like, how are they just deciding if
They
they
can
want a girl or a boy?
they can
Huh,
decide with their
okay.
powers and their connections. They can decide what to have. And so this Reverend Mother thinks, oh, this chick is over here having a boy when it's against the rules to have a boy. Um, because she loves Leto so much.
Mhm.
Because like I said, Leto wants a son. He wants to give his um like his house, he wants to have an heir.
Yep.
So the mother is like, oh, the the Reverend Mother is like, oh, this chick over here. She even says it in the movie, but it's like, your pride. But unbeknownst to her, Jessica really feels like her kid could be Kwisatz Haderach. So, yeah.
I believe he is.
Oh, he definitely is.
Now, I want to say before we move too much forward and before I forget, that scene where uh Oscar Isaac, Leto, he's speaking to Paul and he tells him, "You are what I've always needed you to be, my son." And he
Yeah,
tells him that everyone finds their own way to, the position of leadership.
I felt that.
Um, Before that, he says, "I wanted to be a pilot." Now, I wasn't the only
I
one
knew
thinking he's one
I
hell of a pilot,
knew
right?
it. I knew it. You were the first, like just you saying that's one hell of a pilot.
Yeah.
I I cackled in my seat next to my parents when that came out. Where he was like, I always wanted to be a pilot. I went, ha!
I was thinking, if only he knew.
In
If
another
only he
life.
knew he's one hell of a pilot. Now, this got me thinking, Caroline, this is the year 10,191. So this is long after Star Wars, right? Because Star Wars is a
Is
long time ago
in a
in a galaxy
galaxy
far, far
far,
away.
far away.
So
Are you thinking?
he lived his life as a pilot, and one hell of a pilot, to
At
be
that.
exact. And of course, he was having a good time. I mean, you saw, like, we saw what a good job he did. So I can understand why he wouldn't want to leave that behind. So good for him for taking up responsibility. It was a big sacrifice, especially for the rebellion slash resistance. But
Resistance.
anyways, I had to bring that up.
Oh, I'm so glad. See, this is why you have to be my co-host because I would have completely forgotten that, and that was such a key part in what brought me so much joy in the first part of the film. Is when he said that.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
was so perfect. And I feel like I haven't seen them yet. I need to search them out, but I feel like there's memes about that somewhere. I feel like there's got to be. I need to find some.
You don't have some on the ready, archived?
I don't. I haven't found a lot of Dune memes. I found a
Mm.
couple of memes on Twitter where they were making fun of the sandworm and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that, but I haven't found any other ones. Oh,
Okay.
there is one of like that's kind of becoming a template where Paul sticks his hand in the box and it's the mother, like the Reverend Mother saying like, um, for example, if you talk about Dune again one more time, you're gonna die. And it's like Paul like with his mouth open, like ah. So there is like a meme.
Struggling to get a word out.
Yes, struggling. He's like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
So there is some meme templates, but I haven't seen any related to I wanted to be a pilot. I was like,
Not yet. It
somehow
falls on us to do that.
It falls on us to watch Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
And he did a
And
good job in 8 too. The opening. Remember those magnetically propelled bombs in space? Or you want to forget that? Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. All right.
Actually, I liked that scene, but I feel like that's a trigger for some people who are like, bombs in space.
I don't know how many people would be triggered by that. I mean, it's a thing that Davey likes to joke about, and so do I, because it's funny that you're not bombs in space, dropping bombs in space, and they call it magnetically propelled, but you can hear it dropping, like being released and dropping onto another
It
spaceship.
has the same amount of logic as light speeding through a cruiser. But
Yeah. Well,
we're not
anyways, this
talking.
is Dune. This
Yeah.
isn't
We're
Star
not
Wars
talking
yet.
about Star Wars. We're talking about it. Listen, Star Wars is my MCU for you. I could go off on it, so you have to kind of rein me in.
No problem. But I did want to say one more thing. One more aside that I
Uh-huh.
have to say before I forget. I'm not gonna
Uh-huh.
forget, but um, Josh Brolin, he just always sounds like Thanos, especially when when Leto tells him, smile. What's his name? Gertie.
Gertie.
Yeah, he's like, smile, Gertie. He's like, I am smiling. Wasn't that such a Thanos line to say? Come
I
on.
don't see. I think that that's just the children of Thanos in you because I was seeing Cable. I was seeing a lot of just Josh Brolin being
Oh,
Josh
I try to forget
Brolin.
that movie.
I think that's just you in your
No, that
love.
line specifically is very Thanos,
Mm,
especially when he says in the
mm,
trailer, "This does put a smile on my face," and then he goes and says, "I am smiling." Come on, that's Thanos.
mm,
That is not a stretch. That's
mm.
pretty spot on, actually. You keep making that noise, but I'm gonna keep on defending this. You don't see it?
I,
You don't
I,
hear it? You don't
I,
hear it?
no, I didn't. When I saw it twice, and I
You
didn't.
don't remember him saying in the Infinity War trailer? This does put a smile on my face. It got super memed and quoted. And now he says, I am smiling. You don't see that connection? The same guy talking about
Other
smiling,
than the word smile, but
and he sounds exactly the same.
it's the same guy.
Can we pull up the clips? But yeah, you said it's the same guy, but you just said, oh, I didn't hear that. You go, and you're like, oh, he sounded more like Cable. No, he sounded like Thanos.
He sounded like Josh Brolin saying,
AKA,
"I'm al-
AKA,
I'm always smiling,"
AKA the Mad Titan
but
Thanos.
I didn't hear Thanos in him.
You want to pull it up real quick? How
See,
do you not hear Thanos?
this is why we need to do some YouTube stat. We're gonna have to post. You know, we were talking about doing this video
Uh,
after I graduate, like in January, but I think it's gonna come around a lot sooner than we think.
what? What do you mean? I'm
you're
confused.
like you're like pick up. You're like, all right, roll the clip. We're gonna actually have to
Oh
start
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can you play it
recording.
right now? You're gonna edit this one, all right? This is your first project. All right. Here, play the Infinity War trailer because this clip didn't make it into the movie. But when he says, "This does put a smile on my face," and then play the clip where the Emperor is visiting the house of Atreides, and then he tells Gertie, "Smile." Oh, or I forgot the exact line, but who cares? Because Josh Brolin says, I am smiling. Same Thanos voice. I
Tone,
rest my case.
tone. It's not like it's not the Thanos voice. It's Josh Brolin's
I
voice.
know, but I'm saying Josh Brolin always sounds like Thanos.
Because it's Thanos. It's because he didn't do a specific voice for Thanos. He was just himself.
Yeah, that's true. But also the point I'm getting at is that you said it didn't sound like him. So you're saying that he does always sound like him. You're agreeing with me on that. But then earlier you said, nah, you made that noise a lot. You went,
Eh.
like, I don't hear it. So
It-
how?
it's
Explain your
because
your
I don't
contradiction.
I don't hear Thanos when I hear Josh Brolin in a film. I just hear Josh Brolin, or because I could actually see him and not see him in like 8-foot purple Titan makeup. I was like, oh, that was more of like a cable thing because I'm actually able to see Josh Brolin as Josh Brolin or as Gurney in this film. He's supposed to be another character named
Is it
Gurney, not
Gurney or Gertie?
Gurney.
Gertie's something else, isn't it? What's a Gertie? I said Gertie before. What is it? It's something else.
A Gurney. It's like a hurdy-gurdy. Sea of Thieves.
Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
It's so chaotic.
dun, dun, dun. What movie are we talking about? Infinity War. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
So he's
Hold up, hold up, hold up. Here, ring it back in, cowboy.
all right.
So, Josh
And
Brolin
this was an aside, by the way. It was only going to take like 10 seconds to
was
explain this.
supposed to be an aside, but
All
Mr.
right.
Child of Thanos over here decided to advocate for his Lord and Savior
Got to
once
represent
again.
the Black Order. All Black Order fans out there. I got you back.
All those people who have Thanos as their Disney Plus icon, Tony has your back.
I got Rocket Raccoon, but Thanos is still in my heart. All right, continue. Where did you want to pick this up from?
At this point, I'm not even sure. Let's kind of cut to the chase. You know, we've been having some asides.
To the chase. All right. All right. Where's the chase?
Did you like the movie?
Did I like the movie? On second watch, I liked it more than the first watch. Yeah. Like I told you before, coming out the theaters, I really felt like it's all right. It's all right. I can tell, like, I saw it in the best way possible, pretty much. Like the shots were enormous. There was a lot of cool looking things. Oh, and we were talking about it before, but yeah, there are some dark scenes too, like literally dark, where
Yeah, not thematically. Like the
yeah,
movie needs to
literally.
add brightness plus 100.
Yeah, my eyes couldn't register what was going on. But it
Yeah,
wasn't, you're right, it wasn't like solo levels of dark, because that movie was pretty much all dark. This
that
had its moments.
that Solo was. I had to squint. People almost pulled out their flashlights on their phone just to be able to see what was going on. But to be fair, it was just in like the first 20 minutes of Solo. But it was so dark. However, yeah, in Dune, there's a lot of dark scenes, and it is what led to me ultimately rewatching it because I saw it during the day. So the sun was coming in through the windows.
You
You
got
get
that
that kind of
glare?
yeah, you got that glare on the TV, that little reflectiveness, and when a dark scene happens like that, you see yourself. You know, you're not really seeing what's going on. So afterwards,
You see
I think
yourself squinting to see what's going
you
on.
see yourself lazing on the couch like a Jabba the Hutt. But yeah, um, it was until I think the next day I had some free time and I turned off the lights in my room. I was like, all right, let me rewatch Dune. So yeah, the movie has its scenes where it can be pretty
Yeah.
dark.
But it wasn't bad. Like the dark scenes were fine. I would say that's a nitpick. And another little nitpick is um a lot of the dialogue felt uncomprehensible at moments. Like I've even read online, I'm glad I wasn't the only one, but pretty much the whole conversation in the tent, like out in the Spice Desert,
Hmm.
I barely heard a word that they were saying in there. At
Oh
least
yeah,
in
you had no subtitles.
yeah. Yeah, I barely heard anything. And Paul, Jennifer is her name,
Jessica.
right? Oh, wow. What movie am I thinking about? No, I just made that up. Jessica. Um, actually, it'll be easier to just say pretty much only Thanos and Poe Dameron sounded clear to me in the movie.
We're just gonna refer to all of them by different characters we've seen them as. So
No,
Poe
I'm not.
Dameron had a kid with Jenny Lind.
I'm so glad you remember that. I was trying to think about it. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything I've
And
seen.
Mary Jane is in the movie too.
Yeah, Mary Jane is a Fremen. Drax is the
Yeah.
enemy.
How many
Lieutenant
Marvel characters do we have in this movie?
Thanos is the you know what's funny is I'm trying to think of any movie that I've seen Timothy Chalamet in, and the only thing I can think of is how what's kind of going viral is he's gonna play the next Willy Wonka in a Willy Wonka prequel, and so now
Oh,
I can just think
yeah.
of him as Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I saw that image. I think he could do it.
He's got the look. He's got that what's his name? Gene.
Wilder?
Yeah, he's got that Gene Wilder look.
He does. Let's see if he can pull off the charisma.
I haven't seen any other film that he's in, so he's just gonna have to
No,
be.
I didn't know he existed until Dune.
Well, I knew he existed because he's kind of a teen heartthrob. He's kind of like a Tom Holland for the youngins. A lot of people
Tom
like him.
Holland is a Tom Holland for the youngins.
He's up there. Timothy Chalamet is up there.
Oh, I can see. You got the
Like,
jawline, the
he
hair.
got the jawline, the curly brown hair.
I bet he's a hit in the emo crowds or people who shop at Hot Topic.
He's a hit with the soft boy crowds. A lot of people like the soft boy look.
Oh, okay. Like Japan.
Yeah, kind of.
Boy bands, right? Or
Yeah.
am I off the mark?
I think people who get it will know what you're trying to get, so it works. But yeah. So
I just remembered another aside.
Okay.
So Thanos, right? No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Zendaya.
Uh-huh.
Zendaya. For a large portion of this movie, she's just in dreams.
Yep.
And I was thinking, man, she got a good gig. She doesn't even have to like.
Oh yeah.
Her script is probably just says Paul.
Her script was
is one
Paul
word.
maybe 8 times, and then
Not even.
her saying that line just at the end where she's like, I have this knife. Like, this knife was given to me. It's the tooth of a sandworm. It'll be an honor for you to die by it. Like, that's one. And then the other one is just at the end where she's like, it's only the beginning. And then bam, there you go, Zendaya. Good job, girl.
Yeah, it wasn't until we finally see her
Get
in
that bag.
person. It wasn't until we see her in person that I was like, oh, okay, so she's gonna have to do some acting. But before that, I was like, oh man, good for her. All she has to do in this movie is look away, off in the distance every time, and then sometimes say Paul.
That's Zendaya has been getting the character for just advertisement thing. Like what comes to mind is like Lola Bunny. You know, she didn't have to play Lola Bunny.
Oh yeah,
And she
I
was
forgot
in
she was Lola.
Yeah, that's the thing. She is in almost all of the advertising and press tour for Space Jam 2. Like right there with LeBron James. And
Say that again.
have you seen the Have you seen the Vine where it's like LeBron James? Say it.
What's
LeBron
Vine?
James. Oh, I forgot. You're so old.
All right, Viners, Caroline got your back. Don't worry.
I got y'all.
I hope you guys appreciated that. I'm sure it was a good one.
I peaked in Vine times.
I'm sure it was a good one. But yeah, Zendaya
glorious.
is a draw. I know she's a draw.
She's a big market draw, and she got that treatment in Space Jam 2 where she was doing interviews and stuff, and what did she really even contribute other than, the voice of Lola Bunny? But she's got a couple of lines, and that was it. She didn't do a huge... Bugs Bunny obviously spoke more, and then you had LeBron James and other like Don Cheadle and stuff, but she didn't do a lot. I bet you she just went to the studio, got it all done in like maybe 2 hours and then went home. And
I forgot she was Lola as I was watching the movie, and completely forgot until you brought it up right now.
I would only remember she was Lola whenever she spoke because her voice doesn't match Lola Bunny. And they did kind of the same thing to her in Dune. She's really only in the film as it's flashbacks. Don't get me wrong, Chani, the character she plays, is a big role and will be.
In part 2.
Yeah, she will be very important later on. But at this portion of the story that Dune Part 1 is covering, yeah, she's, she is to the extent of dreams and visions, and then he meets her in the desert. So she didn't have to go on press tours. She could have been another Dave Bautista and just been like, "Oh, hey, that's Drax," or "Hey, that's Mary Jane, that's MJ." But no, they had her along for the ride. She was in all the press tours.
Yeah, I think she was in the movie enough for her to be in the press tour, but I did think she was only going to be in Dreams. I was surprised to see her
Actually
actually
in the
show
film.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, until part 2.
I was surprised to even see her in the promotional material when they announced, but like I said, I hadn't gone that far in the book, but I was like, "Oh dang, they're advertising Chani. Like, they got Zendaya up in here on the posters." Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point to bring up that yeah, she's a huge marketing tool, like very beneficial to whatever movie she's in.
She's a big
People like
draw.
her. I like her.
I do too. If
Mm.
I haven't seen like Euphoria that she's in, but anytime there's a movie and she's in it, I am more inclined to see it. I am a fan of Zendaya. She, if you don't know, she is a singer and she has some pretty cool songs out there.
Didn't she sing in The Greatest Showman?
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, like professionally, not like Zac Efron can
I
sing,
like
but you
little
don't see.
throwaway projects like
Well, you don't see
The
Zac
Greatest
Efron
Showman.
putting out albums and stuff like that. But
Was he
Zendaya does.
singing?
Donnie.
I don't know. Was he singing? Or did they get another guy to do it like High School Musical 1?
They got Drew Seeley to come back
Dave guy.
for. They're like,
Oh,
hey,
Zac Efron got a job on a movie. Looks like I'm employed again too.
it's like, oh, Zac Efron got a job got a part where he also has to sing. Where's my email?
All right.
Let me call up my agent, see if he got anything.
But Zach did his own stunts, and by stunts I mean vocals.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, good for
So,
him.
but Zendaya is not like that. She actually does put out songs and stuff, and her work is pretty good. I follow her on Spotify.
I'll give it a listen. I am interested.
She did just as a quick aside from the
Oh,
aside.
another side. Oh, okay.
There's this Broadway musical called Finding Neverland, and she did a cover for one of the songs, and it has been my most recent obsession. It's pretty good.
Well, aside from your actual obsession, we're not gonna go into that right now, though.
No, no, no,
No,
we can't. I
no.
can't put myself on blast so early in episode 1. I don't want to get
It's
canceled.
only episode 1. We
It's
must go on.
we must.
We must go on. So I want to talk about. Now, this is actually part of the movie. Let's get back on the main track here.
Okay.
I want to talk about these giant, enormous sandworms.
I love them. I want a plush of them.
Ah,
They're
yeah,
kind of
they're pretty
cute.
cool.
They're kind of cute.
Yeah.
It, if you ever get the chance, you need to look up some of the concept art for what's the name of the great worm? There's like a worm that the Freemen all worship. What's the name of that great worm?
The Great Worm.
Here,
I
well,
think it's
I'm gonna look.
SpongeBob.
I'm,
This is the
I'm gonna look it
big, hairy, and pink.
up.
That was it, right?
The
Are you looking it up
SpongeBob.
right now?
I am.
Which one, SpongeBob, or are you looking up the Great Worm?
The great worm. There's a name. It has a name, and they even called it. The doctor was like, "I serve." What's his name?
Oh, you mean right before she dies?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
What,
remember what she said.
what is the name of the sandworm that lives on Arrakis? All the freemen worship it.
It's more
What
than one
is
worm
the
though, right?
name? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of sandworms. They're kind of just native to. Um, that is something just as a note. It's not really an aside. It is a note. Shai Hulud. I got it.
Oh my gosh, did you just summon a worm? Why did you say it like that? Shy Halud!
Dun dun. If you're the
Start
sand.
banging on the
Bum,
sand.
bum. Dun dun. Um, the planet of I'm gonna have to do another lookup of Tachanka on Mass
That can't be
Effect.
right.
No,
Look
no,
that
no, no,
up
no.
one more time.
Yeah.
That can't be right, Caroline.
In Mass Effect, there's a planet called Tachanka, and yeah, yeah, yeah,
What?
Tachanka.
Alright, you
So,
would know. I guess that is right.
so
But they
in
didn't go back to the drawing board on that one?
no, there's a planet called Tachanka, and it is the home of. I mean, I'm just gonna be mad googling this whole last part of the
You
episode.
see, and you guys said we don't do our research. Look at this.
Look
Going
at
the
this.
extra mile.
Look at this. Oh, it's the home world of the Krogan, and it is very, very. I can tell just already. This planet of Tachanka was inspired by Arrakis because it is a completely desert planet, and it is absolutely riddled with worms. What's that called? Thresher maws. That's what theirs are called.
What's
The
that?
thresh the thresher maw is basically the sandworm of Dune, but in Mass Effect it's called a thresher maw, and
Oh,
they have like the mother of all thresher maws and stuff like that, and so that to me that's a huge Dune inspiration right there.
you think
With
Dune set the trend for sandworms? I don't know when that book came out, but
it came out in like the 80s, didn't it? So I assume it set the trend for a lot of things.
because that's a common, not all that common, but it's one of the creatures that you might find in any kind of sci-fi thing. Because you just mentioned Mass Effect. I'm thinking No Man's Sky. They had that.
Also, I want to be do a quick correction. Dune came out in 1965. The
All
movie
right,
came
it
out in
led the
80.
way.
Oh
It
yeah.
led the way for sand monsters,
Oh yeah.
sandworms.
I bet you it even had a what's it called? An influence on Star Wars's. I'm blanking out on all these names.
Oh right, Luke Skywalker. No, I'm kidding. Just something common like that that you would forget.
The Sarlacc pit. I bet you it inspired the Sarlacc pit
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
because the Sarlacc pit was a big. It was like a worm trapped in, not trapped, but like it was just stuck in the sand and it had all that teeth coming out.
Waiting to eat up Boba,
Mr. Boba, for now.
but not fully digest him for some reason.
Mm, I feel like Davy's ears are burning. But yeah, the sandworms definitely. I got big. Even like as I was watching it, I felt like I was flashing back to Tachanka of Mass Effect with the Thresher Maws and everything. And however, I I need to send you some of the images of how the sandworms were kind of projected to look based on concept art of the book
Did it look
because
scary? Oh, look at that.
they were pretty cool. They were pretty cool looking.
I
And
mean, they kind of look like that. I mean, they look
I'm
scarier though in the movie.
I'm gonna send you a comparison. So
All right.
that is how they look in the book. We're gonna have to do a video version.
Oh yeah, this is audio. This is audio.
This is all
So
audio.
Caroline sent me the first image, which is concept art, right, based
Yeah.
on the book, not even for the movie, on the
Yeah.
book.
Uh-huh.
All right, and I would explain it as just think of a worm, but it has a mouth that I guess would open like a Venus flytrap, but no teeth. It just has three flaps that open up and look like a mouth. So compare that to what you see in Dune, and this looks like a big old mouth with a lot of teeth. It looks like a brush in there, like a
It
There's like
does
a
look like it has,
brush.
like, whale teeth, you know how humpback whales have, like, the bristle teeth?
Yeah, bristle teeth. That's a good
It's like a
explanation right there.
it's a donut, but a donut made of bristle teeth.
I think the movie one looks better and creepier, especially when it's like everyone's falling into his mouth, which just reminded me that thing eats a lot of sand. Like every time it eats one tiny little human, is eating like hundreds of gallons of sand.
Oh, it's Anakin Skywalker's worst nightmare.
Oh yeah, he would hate it here.
He would hate it on Arrakis. I have to kinda disagree with you on that, though. I really like the way the book designed the, uh, sandworm. I think it looks cooler, a little more organic, but I can understand that from the aesthetic point of view. The worms that we got in the film fit. It kinda fits. However, I do kinda like that old sci-fi looking design. For my cultured homies out there, the mouth of the sandworm looks like the mouth of the Sarlacc pit when the beak is, like, coming out and trying to bite. It's got those 3 flaps, and it's like pop, pop, pop. It looks pretty cool. But
Now it gives more a little bit more credit to the theory that that Star Wars was inspired by
like,
Dune. Well,
Dune.
specifically the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the new design is new. That's the thing. It's original. It's its own thing. I think that if they did stick with the older design, it would have gotten a lot of comparisons to the Star Wars Sarlacc pit. So maybe they did that intention. They probably did do it intentionally to stick out on their own, and it worked. It's a very original design.
It's just such a good visual when the sand is just collapsing into the mouth, and then you start seeing the teeth, and then you start seeing how big the mouth is, like when the sand just starts pouring into the mouth.
I'll get
Looks
a
really
little bit
cool.
more into it later, but this is one of the few scenes where the music really impressed me.
Oh
Was
yeah, because you were
this
barely impressed, huh?
I we gonna
Music.
get into that now? You want me to do that now?
Get into it, of
Give me
course. Which, by the way, I didn't really find a lot of times when I felt like it was just one note being played,
maybe
and
that was just me. I
maybe I
I
was just comparing it to Interstellar too much, but
I think also I kind of clouded your view and, made it bigger than what it was when I spoke to you before you saw it, because just so I love Hans Zimmer. He's a genius. I love his stuff. Um, I will eternally love his work in Prince of Egypt and the movie Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron for my horse girls out there. But I
nobody,
oh, you'll be
nobody
surprised.
listening to me
You'll be
right now.
one day. But Hans Zimmer, I feel like this movie was trying to be different and they succeeded, don't get me wrong. And it's not like as if they were doing things intentionally to subvert. This was a very well put together film. Um Tony spoke a little bit about his feelings towards the film. My opinion of the movie is I really love it. I love the inner workings of the story. It is kind of, I think a lot of people get the misconception that Dune is going to be this giant sci-fi epic when it really is kind of a political drama. And it will later be a little more action and stuff, but the essence of this movie is it's a political drama with a lot of building tensions culminating into its ultimate climax where the house is destroyed and things like that, and then he has to run and survive in the desert with his mom and stuff, but it's a giant political drama. I love it. I love the way it was handled. I love the storytelling and the pacing. My only real critique was the music, because I feel like there were so many moments that were so emotional and so key. Even just like the scene where the doctor is telling I think it's Jessica, where he's like, they torture my wife. They take her apart like a doll. I felt like the music could have made moments like that a little bit more impactful had there been some type of strings or a type of woodwinds, just something a little bit more than just they were very like digital. I could tell with this um this soundtrack, I heard a lot of one note drawn out to where when it's scenes that they show like a ship being lowered down, or when it's what's it called, like establishing shots of the architecture, like when the ships are coming in, or scenes of Arrakis and things like that, or even just Kaladin. I heard a lot of just like a like digital, like blah, 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 like things like that, and less of a more, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like the soundtrack didn't leave a huge impact on me, and that's the only thing that made this film not like it's a little bit weak. Like I love the visuals, I love the acting. I was very impressed by the acting and the delivery of a lot of these lines, and how the cinematography is, the design of everything, the architecture, everything to me just hit the nail on the head. But where it fell weak for me was the music. I feel like the music, there's not like a moment where I felt impacted by the score. And what's funny is that I'm not somebody who usually pays attention until I saw the movie Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And that's a high bar because that's like Howard Shore's best work is Lord of the Rings. But that's when I started paying attention to how much music impacts my emotions to a scene. Specifically when like Sam is giving that speech to Frodo about why they shouldn't give up, they should continue going forward. And that, if you were to have removed the music, you would remove about 40 to 50% of the weight that that scene holds, because the music plays such a part in your emotions and how you're feeling, and Sam's words. And so that's where I started noticing how key music is to a scene, especially if that scene is kind of quiet, or it's not like huge action. It's a scene that you're meant to stay focused on and pay attention to what people are saying. And I feel like the music in Dune didn't really do that. They were trying to go for it fit the kind of aesthetic, I guess, but it didn't make an impact on me. And so that's where I think that the music is the only real weak part of the film.
I could definitely agree with that part. I could definitely agree with that because I didn't walk away thinking that there was any memorable music. The songs don't have, well, I mean, the score doesn't have to be memorable so that I could hum it coming out the theaters, even though there are movies that I could do that with. But I feel like if you were to play any part of that score on YouTube right now, I wouldn't, and I would to guess like in a blind test or something, I wouldn't know that it's from Dune at all. Like I felt like all the music was good enough just to suffice for the scene. But when we were talking about it before I saw the movie, um, and you mentioned like the thing about holding the note or whatever, I was like, I told you like, oh, you're not gonna like Interstellar then because that's all they do. Um, and at this point, I didn't know it was Hans Zimmer. I think you mentioned Hans Zimmer, but I thought you mentioned him only because I said Interstellar. I had no idea Hans Zimmer worked on Dune, and it wasn't until the credits that I saw his name, and I thought, "Whoa, that was Hans Zimmer, really?" Like I did not get that impression that it was him or his work. Um, yeah, it left no impact, and that's completely different from Interstellar. I think I would want you to see Interstellar just so that you can see the difference. And
Oh,
you
I want
probably
to.
already you've heard the music, I bet. I
Uh-huh.
bet you've already heard it.
It's in my study playlist.
Oh, there you go. So
So
you could make epic one notes.
oh, I love Hans Zimmer's work, and he does make the one notes work. Like I've heard Interstellar, it's really good. And it fits kind of, he has this way of making his music fit the ambiance of the film. And in the sense of like with Interstellar, it feels like you're in space. Like if you were to close your eyes and just listen to that
Hmm.
score, I could imagine floating around 0 Gs and everything. And there's the movie I mentioned before that you said nobody knows, but just as an example, it's called Spirit, and it takes place in like the New Mexico kind of area when there was like colonization, and it's Native Americans, and there's wild horses. So the music kind of fits that more of a, it's not country, but it has that free spirited, untamed in nature kind of vibes to it. And it fits. It's really good. And so that's kind of where it's like, I know Hans Zimmer understands the assignment. I know he is talented enough, and I'm not going to tell this guy who is a genius in his field how to do his job. You know, who are we? We're just two dorks on a podcast. But
Speak for yourself.
yeah, sorry, princess. But
Do you think Han? You think he had to meet a midnight deadline? You know, and he pushes out at 11:59 kind of thing.
I don't think anybody rushes Hans Zimmer. But I do think that maybe he had an idea for how he wanted this movie to sound, and I just didn't agree with it. I didn't like it, or I wasn't impressed by it.
Yeah, I would say it was just enough. It was something to hear in the background. No more than that.
And like, it's not like as if we want a catchy tune that we're going to be whistling on the way out, but I do want. I just feel like, because the thing with Dune and Paul Atreides himself, Paul Atreides can be pretty um stoic. I don't know if you noticed that. He's not very emotional. He doesn't emote a lot. He can be
Yeah,
kind
when
of
he
a
saw Zendaya, I thought he would be,
like,
yeah, head over
"That's
heels like, "You're
that's my
real. You're,
girl."
you're the woman of my dreams." Well, I know
Yeah,
he wouldn't have said any of that, but that's a feeling that I thought he
like
was gonna
the
have.
the face.
Yeah.
But Paul Atreides, you know, that's his character. His character is being kind of cold and stiff, and
Hmm.
Timothy Chalamet played him perfectly. So I get maybe that's why the music didn't go like super um
Bombastic or a little bit crazier
yeah,
or
because the feeling of the main character is he's very tame in his emotions, and he's very subdued. And then not only that, I said, you know, prior, it's a kind of a political film. It's a very tensions, it's a political drama. So, you know, that's not exactly the film for like a da-na-na, you know, just whatever, but I don't know. I There were just some moments. I did mention like in the sandworm, that was the moment where I thought that the blah really worked, because I was even like, whoa. When the sandworm makes its appearance and they're just there staring at it, and it's like, whoa. I thought
yeah.
that worked. But I think that there could have been other ways to embody the music and how it was, because that was just a little bit of a little bit of a letdown. But maybe that was his intention. And with Dune Chapter 2, there are more characters that are going to get some highlights. There are more eventful things, and so maybe it'll liven up from there.
And now we know that there is gonna be a part 2
I'm
as
so
of
happy.
recording.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that it did well. I'm so happy that we're getting
It
a
got a
part
lot of
2.
views on HBO Max as
I
well.
I think I recall a headline that Dune is the most successful HBO at home release.
Uh, I I think that's true in like a different sense. I don't know how they categorize it, but I did see the total views and um like things like Godzilla versus Kong came out, you know, with bigger numbers, but there's like all these little details as to why. Like Kong had like a earlier opening. I think it came out on a Wednesday or Thursday or
Mm.
something. And like Mortal Kombat and things like that, those came out bigger. But Dune Dune came out like higher than Zack Snyder's Justice League when that launched. And um I forgot how they mentioned it, but it was like number one. But if you ignore like the huge, like I already named the two, Mortal Kombat and Godzilla versus Kong, and I think there's like three more for like whatever specific reason. I think they had like um a 3-day window instead of or I mean a 4-day window instead of a 3-day window to get their view counts, something weird like that. But besides all that, yeah, it did surprisingly well on the home release. The
It did
box
pretty
office, I
well.
forgot.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. It did pretty well box office wise. Let me do a quick Google right here.
I mean, I contributed to it.
You did
Yeah.
into the IMAX too. Let's see. According to Box Office Mojo, it has made 241 million worldwide. And
You know, after 2020, I don't really know what's good anymore.
that's pretty good.
That's pretty
When
good.
I mean, first of all, it made its money back. It had a budget of 165 million and it's made 241. Trying to use my project management brain right now.
Well, remember the recommendation that you always have to double the budget that they say for marketing?
Oh, that's true. Oh, I don't know if they would have made. They netted 76 million. 165 times 2. They would need 330 mil if they were going to double the budget.
That's always a rough estimate that they give, so
This is a pretty rough estimate, though. It's on a calculator done by a dork on a podcast.
hey, speak for yourself.
I am. I said a dork.
Oh, that's right. But yeah, is there any other scenes or things that you wanted to call out about this movie? Because I would just say overall, um, like I mentioned earlier, I think the first time around, I thought it was all right, not bad, but not for me. That's how I felt. And the second time around watching the movie, I felt I understood it better and I liked it better because of that. And I'm not over the moon about it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I definitely appreciate it more. And I would see part two. But actually now that I'm thinking about it, I guess I would want you to explain by the end of the movie, I did feel like all right, what are they working towards? Like what's the big idea here? Like why should I look forward to a part 2?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I know desert power, I know that, but like um yeah, I didn't feel like all right, can't wait for part 2. I was just thinking, all right, let's see what they do with part 2.
Let's see what they dune
Let's see what they
with part
dune.
2.
Yes.
So
All right, good night. Oh, okay, go ahead.
the ultimate goal of the like
House of Atreides.
House Atreides is that Paul wants to mutiny, wants to create an uprising. He wants to take down the emperor and I believe assert himself as the emperor. But
Okay.
he wants to start a holy war because he is the Lisan Al Galib, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to butcher that title again, but the Bene Gesserit's chosen one. And and then
Oh yeah, we got to go back and edit all that.
and then he's also now the Duke Atreides. So he's got all these titles piled on under his belt. He wants to use it to step one. He wants to ally himself with the Fremen, and get them as allies. And then step two, he wants to join all the 10 houses together. And then once he has all the 10 houses together, he wants to launch an attack against the Emperor and take down the Emperor.
Then he'll be the new emperor.
Bum, bum.
Okay. Well, that's good to know going into the second movie now. Because I really felt like they ended it just way too open. Like, all right, cool. He's gonna learn how to ride worms. Nice. All right, have fun, bro.
That is something that I saw some people have a little bit of an issue with. I think that's kind of a. I haven't looked too much into Dune reviews,
There's
but
no worm writing in the books?
no, there is, there is. I'm not
Oh,
saying
okay.
that.
Oh, so something else. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just saying that something that I've seen common across the board with other reviews that I've seen of Dune is that it does end pretty abruptly. You know, I didn't expect it to end where it ended. Just in like I was like, oh, okay, maybe we're just like at the or we're 2/3 of the way through, but then it's like this is only the beginning, and then the film ends, and I was like, oh, I'm one of I think my mom was even like, that's it, and I was like, yeah, it's over. And that's a common consensus that I've kind of seen in the spaces that I've been looking at for Dune. Is a lot of people think that it did end pretty abruptly, but I understand you have to cut it off somewhere because then otherwise,
Yeah.
where does it end? And he did adapt half of the book. He got it done. So I think he did pick a pretty good spot if he had to pick one.
I would say it's abrupt, but I felt like they do a good job of letting you know that the end is coming because you start getting. Do you get narration? No, I'm just. I feel like the dialogue is kind of like building up. Also, the music is building up to let you know
Mm-hmm.
we're almost done. Like this is a wrap up montage or something. There is no montage, but it almost felt like that. Like, yeah, we're wrapping up now. Yeah, like I said, that's all I had. Unless you wanted to bring up anything else that you had in mind about the movie, or if not, just your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy Dune. I think it's a different type of sci-fi. I am very grateful to finally see something that is sci-fi and not Star Wars. Um, it's funny to see something that influenced you. You know what I mean? Uh,
You're just going down the line.
it's not like, oh, this was inspired by Star Wars. It's like, no, this inspired what shaped me. So Star Wars took notes from Dune.
This inspired what inspired you.
Exactly, exactly. So it was a very enlightening experience for me, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twists and the turns, the quiet moments. I said prior, I enjoyed a lot of things about this movie: the visuals, the acting, the even the look of everything, the costume designs and the architecture. I really enjoyed a lot of things about this film, and I am greatly excited for Dune Part 2. That is going to be something that I'm saying it right now. I'm definitely going to the theater to see Dune Part
Oh,
2. Oh, yeah. And plus it comes out what? 2023? So,
all right, COVID. Let's wrap this up.
COVID, you better get on out of here. You better get on out. We call Shy Hulud on your butt.
For real, if it goes on into 2023, well, you got
Let's
a
not
decision to make,
let's
Caroline.
not let's not discuss the what ifs and instead stay with
Until we
the
watch What If next episode, guys. I'm kidding.
bum
Um,
bum. Next episode will be like
but
Scooby
yeah, that's
Doo,
good, and
Vampire Mayhem.
I'm glad I got the green light,
Yeah,
just just so that you can enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited. What I'm definitely going to do before that is finish the book. I'm considering even just buying it. I've seen I was on TikTok the other day and somebody put a like they made a video of them buying the book Dune and the cover is so beautiful. It's not like those where they just print the poster and make that the cover of the book. It is a legitimate cover for Dune
Oh yeah,
and
you have to get
that's what I want.
the real cover book before it does get the poster on there.
I want the real Dune cover. And
Yeah,
so I might actually just go and buy it physically rather than wait infinite amount of time for Libby to get the book.
yeah, go for it.
So that's going to be on my to-do list definitely before Dune Part 2 comes out. I'm going to finish this book.
All right, Caroline. This was a good discussion. I'm not sure if we could have possibly covered everything, but I think we covered everything that we cared about in this movie.
I
Would
think
you
we
say?
covered everything we wanted to cover.
Well put. So, do you have any parting words before we leave the listeners?
Anybody who's still listening, be sure to drop a follow on your podcast platform of choice. Thank you so much for listening to our rambles and half baked thoughts about Dune. I understand that it is a huge story, and anybody who's very passionate about it, if we butchered anything, I'm sorry. Like, I know we've
Especially the
butchered it.
names. I mean, we definitely
A
butchered that.
lot of a lot of butchered names. But yeah, drop us a follow. Um, if you have a conversation and you happen to bring up that you're listening to a new movie podcast, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, yeah, I like that strategy. Yeah. If you let a friend or family member know, you're listening to a new podcast,
That'd be
that'd be
great.
nice. Keep us in mind. And if you
Yeah.
made it to the end, good job, guys. I mean, how long have we been going?
Oh, who knows at this point? Is this what,
Yeah,
part 2, part 3 that we've recorded?
yeah. But it was good spending time with you, Caroline. Good spending time with the listeners here. I'm glad you made it to the end, whoever does make it to the end. And yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us.